In this section, you will hear a conversation between a Japanese student and a housing officer, discussing the student's interest in joining a homestay program. First, you have half a minute to look at questions 1-5. Now listen and answer questions 1-5.
My friend is really enjoying her homestay experience, so I would also like to join a family.
Okay, let me get some details from you. What is your name?
My name is Kaiko Yuichini.
Could you please spell your family name for me?
Yes, it's Yuichini.
And your first name?
It's Keiko.
All right, Kaiko Yuichini. And what is your nationality?
I'm Japanese.
Could I see your passport, please?
Here it is.
Your passport number is J06337, and you are 28 years old. You are currently living in Willow College, room 21C, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And how long do you plan to stay with the homestay program?
About 4 months longer if I enjoy it.
Okay, and what course are you enrolled in?
I've enrolled in the 20-week Advanced English Studies program as I need help with my writing. I've just completed the first 5-week course.
So you finished 5 weeks and have 15 more weeks to go, which is about 4 months in total.
That's correct, around 4 months.
Before listening to the rest of the conversation, you have half a minute to look at questions 6-10. Now listen and answer questions 6-10.
Okay, do you have any preferences for the family you'd like to stay with? Would you prefer a family with children or without?
I prefer older people around my own age rather than young children.
All right. And do you smoke or drink?
No, I don't smoke or drink.
Would you be comfortable staying with a family of smokers?
No, I wouldn't. I don't like smoking, so I'd prefer a family that doesn't smoke or drink.
Okay, what about pets? Are you okay with that?
Oh, I love animals. I'm a veterinarian, so the more pets the better.
Great. Now, are you a vegetarian? Do you have any special dietary requirements?
No, I'm not a vegetarian, but I don't eat a lot of meat. I really enjoy seafood.
And what about your hobbies?
I like reading and going to the movies. I also played tennis with my friends on the weekends.
Okay. Are you familiar with the public transportation system here?
Not really, as I've been living on campus. I've taken the bus a few times, but they're often late.
What about the trains?
I prefer taking the trains, as they're much faster.
All right. Let me check my records and I'll get back to you this afternoon with the details.
Thank you for your help.
It's my pleasure. I'll see you this afternoon.
That's the end of part 1. You have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to part 2. In this section, you will listen to a tour guide discussing travel tips for a specific destination. First, you will have time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
In this lecture, we will discuss the important considerations for traveling to the country of Izmir. This agency has specialized in tours and independent travel to Izmir for over 20 years, so we have a wealth of experience to share. Izmir is a truly magnificent place to visit, but the travel experience is not always as easy or comfortable as one might expect. The purpose of this lecture is to help you, the traveler, navigate the bureaucratic hassles and focus on enjoying the breathtaking beauty of this remarkable country. The first major hurdle to address is the visa requirement. Nowadays, visas are needed by almost all nationalities visiting Izmir. The standard visa lasts for only 90 days, but it is possible to renew it. I strongly recommend allowing yourself plenty of time when applying for the visa. Around 2 months is advisable. The latest confirmed price for the Izmir visa is £30, but it's important to note that this price may change without notice. This can lead to delays in visa processing. To avoid any issues, I suggest contacting the Izmir embassy directly to confirm the current visa fee before submitting your application. For those of you planning to include Izmir as part of a longer tour and wait to apply for the visa until you reach another country, please be aware that some Asian consulates in neighboring countries may require a letter from your home embassy confirming your nationality. You can find a list of major embassies worldwide in the Student Handbook on page 13. Finally, if you intend to leave and re-enter Izmir during your tour, be sure to check whether you need a multiple entry visa. This is an important detail to consider when planning your itinerary.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have half a minute to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15-20.
Here are some general tips for your trip to Izmir. If you are carrying a large amount of cash or traveler's checks, you need to fill out a currency form. This is important, and forgetting it could lead to problems. You must also declare all your belongings, especially expensive items like video cameras, on a tourist export form. You can get this form before you travel. Even though Izmir is becoming healthier, some neighboring countries are still concerned about health standards there. It's a good idea to carry a health certificate, specifically the BM 276. As students, you'll find many discounts for young travelers in Izmir. The Izmir Transport Authority offers a special youth fare card available at any railway station. Just show your international student card. More information about this card is in your handbook. It's also a good idea to bring 12 passport photos with you. It can be difficult to find a place to get them done in Izmir because of all the bureaucracy. Finally, let's talk about currency. British pounds are not very useful in Izmir these days. We recommend using yen or Australian dollars. US dollars are becoming difficult to use due to political issues. Surprisingly, credit cards are almost useless because of fraud problems. Instead, carry traveler's checks, but choose medium denominations. Large denominations make you more likely to be robbed, and small denominations will increase commission charges.
That's the end of part 2. You have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to part 3. In this section, you will hear a conversation between Dale and a woman discussing Dale's project on people's shopping habits. First, you have half a minute to look at questions 21-24. Now listen and answer questions 21-24.
Excuse me. I hope you don't mind if I ask you a few questions for a project I'm working on.
Sure. What kind of project is this?
I'm looking at people's shopping habits and behaviors. Can I start by asking if you're a student?
No, I used to be a student here last year, but now I'm working as a cashier at a bank. I've come to visit a friend.
Okay, great. How often do you go shopping?
Well, I buy a lot of books, but aside from that, I'd say I go to the supermarket almost every day. And for other things, I tend to shop every other week.
And do you usually spend about the same amount each time?
Yeah, I have about £100 a month to spare, so I'd say I spend around £50 per shopping trip.
And what kind of stores do you prefer? Department stores or smaller shops?
I like the big department stores. It's just easier with the weather to have everything in one place, rather than going from one small shop to another.
Okay, last question. What's the most difficult thing for you to find when you're shopping?
Definitely jeans. I can spend hours trying to find a pair that fits, but other things like sweaters or CDs are much easier to come by.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. You've been really helpful for my project.
No problem at all. Happy to help.
Before listening to the rest of the conversation, you have half a minute to look at questions 25-30. Now listen and answer questions 25-30.
Hello, Dale. How did your shopping inquiry project go?
The results were quite interesting. I interviewed 50 people, and the majority said they go shopping once a week, usually on the weekends.
Okay, let's take a look at the data.
Well, the chart shows that about half the people spend around £45 a month on shopping. 15% spend more, around £75, but the rest spend relatively small amounts, no more than £20 a month, even the regular shoppers.
Ah, so some are real window shoppers then.
Yes, that's right. As for the type of stores they prefer, everyone unanimously chose department stores. I think that's what young people today want.
That's a useful statistic. And what about the things they had the most trouble finding?
Interestingly, it wasn't books or study materials that were the biggest challenge, but rather hobby-related items and sportswear. Many complained about the lack of variety, especially for shoes and trousers.
Ah, yes. I can see how that would be frustrating, just finding the same styles everywhere.
Exactly. They said they often just give up after a while. And lastly, I asked who they like to shop with.
That's the end of part 3. You have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to part 4. In this section, you will listen to an assistant discussing time management strategies for successful study at college. First, you will have time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Time management is a crucial aspect of academic success in college. While in the past, time management meant creating a detailed schedule for every hour of the week, the modern approach focuses on managing yourself rather than time itself. The key is to set clear goals and systematically work towards achieving them. Many students underestimate the time required for coursework, such as the 1,500 to 3,000 word assignments that are common towards the end of the semester. This often leads to stress and a lack of available resources, such as library books, as the deadlines approach. The reason for this is not that students lack intelligence or motivation, but rather that they have not properly planned and prioritized their tasks. To address this, the assistant encourages students to utilize the various planners provided, including a term planner, weekly planner, and daily planner. These tools can help students gain an overview of their responsibilities and break them down into manageable steps. The assistant emphasizes the importance of setting priorities and making a habit of dedicating just 1 hour per day to activities like background reading or bibliography preparation, as this can have a significant impact by the end of the term. By adopting a systematic approach to time management, students can not only complete their assignments more effectively, but also find more time for relaxation and other enjoyable activities. The assistant encourages students to share their ideas and strategies with each other in small groups, fostering collaborative learning and mutual support.
That is the end of part 4. You will now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening section.